Aloha and welcome to Where Do We Go, a podcast where we, as high schoolers, sit down with female professionals in different fields to simply talk story and share with us their experiences, advice, and overall helping us foster female leaders for the future. I'm your host, Kylie Hamamoto, and I'm so glad that you decided to join us today. To learn more about our podcast and previous episodes and speakers, visit our website at www.wegohawaii.org/listen. Our podcast is brought to you by WeGo, a nonprofit organization founded by Kylie Hamamoto with the mission to foster strong and independent female leaders. To learn more about WeGo and ways to support, visit www.wegohawaii.org for more details. Today's Where Do We Go episode is a special installment part of our Women Across Professions event. This week-long experience features leading women in fields that include business, medicine, engineering, and more to support girls in our community and giving them opportunities to gain valuable insight and mentorship. Following this interview, we hope you will join us in listening to other interviews we held and hear some of the words of other women at the forefront of their field. To learn more about Women Across Professions and to listen to other interviews, visit www.wegohawaii.org/womenacrossprofessions. In today's special installment of Where Do We Go for the Women Across Professions Conference, we are joined by Punahou sophomore Callista Yap, who will be having a conversation with Stephanie Barter of Platinum Equity. Well, hello and enjoy today's episode.
Hello everyone, I am Avery Mapes. I am a sophomore at Punahou School and a co-leader at WeGo. And welcome to the Women Across Professions Conference. Today's interview is with Mrs. Jennifer Littenberg, who works in the engineering field at Hawaiian Airlines. All right, welcome to the interview with Miss Jennifer Littenberg. She is the Corporate Compliance Manager for Environmental and Dangerous Goods in the Safety and Security Branch of Hawaiian. Welcome, Ms. Littenberg. Would you like to say a quick bio about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Avery, for giving me this opportunity. Yes, I am basically the manager of compliance for environmental and dangerous goods, corporate-wide for Hawaiian Airlines. I started here in May of 2018, and pretty much what I oversee, I work under safety and security. So what we do is we do everything from the bottom of the plane to top of the plane. And my specialty is any attributes that when we carry hazardous materials, environmental safety, as well as corporate compliance against our safety and security team. So
super interesting.
Yeah, just do safety and security. So you get on the plane safely, and Hawaiian Airlines has a 91-year safety record with no accidents. Knock on wood.
So could you go into a little detail about your path to becoming in this position?
Yes, I came out of university as a chemical engineer with a master's in environmental engineering. And at the time, that really pushed me into, I didn't have a lot of options. This is the late 90s. I don't want to date myself. But I went to a school that was very agricultural based. I went to Colorado State University, and petroleum field or chemical engineering, which was plastics, petroleum, was the big push there. I graduated, like I said, in 99, and I worked in the beer industry as a chemical scientist for quality and control. So I did a lot of hops testing and a lot of not really hard work. And so when I decided to move home a year later, I started as a environmental scientist and engineer. And so I worked for consulting firms here in the state, and did a lot of remedial hazardous waste remediation. And that dated back to cleanup of, during the early 2000s, AmFact was a huge landowner of all these sugar mills throughout the state. And that was my client at the time. And we were in charge of basically once they shut the mills down, was to clean it up because they had turned into environmental Superfund sites under the EPA and RCRA. Yeah, so did that for a few years, and then I went on to be an engineer, design engineer for the private industry, and then I finished up at the military. I worked for the Marine Corps and the Navy for several years and just did construction projects. I built or designed wastewater and potable water treatment systems for large infrastructure projects throughout the islands and throughout basically the South Pacific.
So a little bit here and there throughout
Yeah. A lot of
Um,
engineering, a lot of science.
mhm. So, do you feel that your degree prepared you well for this field, or is it constantly changing?
I think when I left the university, I had a big background in science. So since I didn't go into the petroleum industry,
Mhm.
interesting part is I came home and I worked for Sea Brewer, which is a chemical company here, and they were manufactured chemicals. So I was lucky that I was set up into that, and they had a branch of environmental consulting. So I think the background of my engineering gave me the basis for the science. I,
Right.
I think the difference, it's always changing. I think engineering stays pretty much the same because it's always design work, but I think the environmental and say chemical side of it is always evolving, and I think that's going to different directions in sustainability, climate change. I think
Right.
environmental engineering is something totally different now than when I was in school.
Yeah. And then I say this because mo many of our audience is high school students or pursuing higher education. So it's always interesting to hear how people feel about their education.
Mhm.
And then to keep it on a lighter note, like what are some of your favorite memories from college or high school? It doesn't have to be with with engineering, but it'd be cool too.
Well, I went to high school here. I did not go to Punahou. I went to Midpack, and I loved high school. If I could stay in it forever, I would. And so I went to college, and then I loved college. I think my favorite memories of college is the fact that you can take so many different classes, regardless of what you're focusing on, and explore something else. I was given the opportunity to study in Italy for a semester, and as an engineering student, I think it was unheard of. And
Mhm.
I wasn't required to take art or language. That wasn't part of the path of of our studies. You had to dabble in a little bit of, say, art and language, but not enough to, it could have been a semester or a quarter. Um,
Right.
and I found something that I wanted to do outside of engineering or science, and Italy it was. And so I was able to do that and still get credits towards my program. It's because, school, I think the degree programs are quite flexible
Mhm.
on the liberal arts side or of your core classes, I think is what they used to call them. So I would say Italy is one of my favorite ideas of college. I think meeting people. We growing up here as you are, we live in
Mhm.
an amazing place, and we have such a close-knit community, and you venture off into university of 20,000 or 10,000 or even 5,000, and
Cool.
you meet people from different backgrounds that we rarely would get exposed to, and I think that was neat. um, I got to learn how to drive a tractor because I went to an agricultural school, and
Things
I
you
would have
wouldn't
been
have normally
exactly
done.
never do
Yeah,
that here, right?
right.
Yeah, I learned to hunt, which I would never go hunting here. It just
Yeah,
wasn't something we were doing.
yes. And so what are what's some advice that you would give a high school student aspiring to enter this engineering, chemical engineering field?
I would say never give, never give up. Like never stop asking um, why I can't. If someone tells you no, then there's probably most likely a reason. If you get a no, but never stop asking. I'd just find a different way, reframe the question. So if you
Mhm.
don't get something you want, or it's not something you can get right now, always find a different way to say, okay, if I want that, how do I get it? And just keep asking.
Right.
And
Always.
also, yeah, and never be afraid to ask. That's a big
Mhm.
one. Never be afraid to ask. And I would definitely say I didn't have a lot of females in my degree program at the time.
Mhm.
And there's still not a lot of women. I don't work with a lot of, I have one colleague that's a woman here in my group, but there's not a lot of
Mhm.
women in science, right? In STEM.
Right.
Um, but I would say never be afraid to ask and never stop asking and be
Yeah.
constructive about it. Yeah.
Our club, WeGo, Women Empowering Global Opportunities, really works to try and bridge the gap between these male-dominated fields
hmm
and get women interested in things. So, what was something that drew you to engineering as a high school student, college student?
I had So math and science always came easy. It was like, or I mean, I don't say
Mhm.
easy. I think I really enjoyed science. I enjoyed physical science, and I wouldn't say chemistry was my favorite, but I really did enjoy physical science and how things work. How do buildings stand on, 2 feet or 4 feet? Like how does that concrete hold them up? So I think it was always the questions of being asked. I think science opens up so many different programs, whether it turns into statistics, finance, business. All those things are, relied some root in science and math somewhere. And I think
Mhm.
math and science kind of go hand in hand. Um, you're required to take a lot of math in college, which I think you shouldn't have to, but hopefully that'll change.
Right, which is very important in your job, I would assume,
Yeah,
math
yeah,
side. So take us through a day in your life. What are some things you do?
I do. Let's see. So, on a daily basis, we have a passenger program, right? We carry passengers, and we also carry cargo. So every time we don't have enough bags to fill the airline, we will take cargo, and with that, people ship anything. And
Right.
we transport everything from COVID vaccines to dry ice, tons of fish, and all of that is considered dangerous goods, right? Because it has dry ice in it. We ship auto parts, tires, fuel filters. All those things have to be carefully declared and in compliance, because right above them is all our passengers. So
Mhm.
we look at, balancing that safety um, with our commerce, because really cargo is a big commerce for us. So
Mhm.
I look at evaluating if we have, on a daily basis, I'm really compliant. So we look at if there's an issue within our operation somewhere, whether it's maintenance driven, operational driven. So I'm working with the aircraft or the ground handling area, or with cargo, is if they run into an issue that um, it's either an improper shipment, passenger wants to bring something that they're not allowed to. Like a great one is a
Mhm.
one wheel. We can't transport hoverboards, right? We're not allowed to
Hmm.
bring those. So
Interesting.
yeah, because the batteries are so big and they catch on fire quite often, or they did in the past. So
Yeah.
federal government has banned that. So it's balancing that and just working with the lead groups to explain one to a passenger or one to a customer why we can or cannot accept something. So I just see the compliance side of that.
So you just said overseas. So you would you say that you're out like on the field a lot, or are you more in a leadership role?
I'm in the fields. When I say oversee compliance, is I interpret to them what the regulation is, and then
Mhm.
how they operate their process is up to them. So instead of me telling them you have to use a red pen, I say you have to use a pen. So it's kind of the oversight of compliance. I can be in the field on any day basis when, as a part of our quality assurance, of safety and corporate quality assurance, I do go out and I audit our facilities. So all of our stations throughout the US and international, we are tasked to go out and ensure that our operations meet all the government regulations. So I could be, the end of this month, we'll be in New York as we're transferring to a new location, and midsummer we open Auckland. So we'll go there to make sure we'll go out there and physically watch the operations at hand before startup and then when they begin to reopen. So like our newest Auckland, New Zealand will be opening this July, and I think you'll seeing Japan will open soon.
You said earlier that one of your greatest memories from college was traveling to Italy, and then you just mentioned that traveling is a big part of your career. Would you encourage traveling in any career, or what do you feel is the benefit from experiencing different places?
Oh, yes, I travel 50. That's the best part of my job. Although I travel probably 50% of the time, it is, I meet the amount of people that you meet within your own industry and what they can bring to, just the knowledge and awareness is incredible. So I would encourage everyone to travel. Travel is one of those gifts that you'll be able to hold on to forever. Um, it's not something that I'll be able to take with me later on, but the experience of the travel is definitely its benefit. I learned so much every time I go, and then there are so many people. I have actually been really blessed in this new form of my career, is that I've met the people that I have met are very willing to share everything about safety and compliance. So there's no secrets, no trade secrets. They do some things better than we do, and we can tag on to that, or we do some things differently that they find more efficient. So it's a great exchange of, I think it's a great exchange of knowledge and experience. Wow.
So what's a specific um, thing that you learned from traveling the world, and more specifically for your job? You mentioned that you learn a lot and you can apply things people have taught you to your practices. So what's something that you think of off the top of your head when you say that?
I think tolerance and communication, right?
Mhm.
Collaboration. Maybe that's it. Collaboration. Learn how to look at something through a different lens. I'm a very A personality type person. I'm science driven. I think something has to be a certain way. But when someone else demonstrates how they do something or how they're implementing something, it's a great way to look at it and go, hey, that's, the collaboration or the idea that this can be done a different way. I always take something away from that. So openness, I guess, and maybe tolerance wasn't the right, I guess, be tolerant to change or new ideas. And I think with travel, patience, definitely
Yeah,
be
I
patient
would say.
about the journey.
Yeah. So if you're open to change, what are some, I guess, a better way to phrase it is aspirations that you have for the future? Because I know we're always changing and growing.
Mhm.
What are your personal goals for the future, career-wise or personally?
Okay, the big picture, I want to be
Big picture.
COO. I want to be in the big chair. I think I would
Hmm.
always aspire to be at the top, and just in the sense so that I could inspire others to want to reach. To me, that would be an accomplishment. Would it ever happen? Who knows? Could it ever happen? Who knows? Um,
Hmm.
I think my performance on a daily basis has to reflect that. So I need to do, no matter not every day is great, but I do need to do the best I can every day and just stay true to what my role is. And part of it is that I'm a part of a team. So everyone on my team is just as valuable as I am. And I think that's important in any aspect that whether you work or with your group of friends, we're all valid. Everything is
Hmm.
valid. And I think when as I'm getting old, as I move in my career, I do have a lot more um, love for new ideas, and I think that just changes, getting more comfortable with just what I'm capable of and my knowledge and what I can share.
Hmm.
So never, yeah, I don't want to always be first, but I do want I do want to be the best. No, but I do want to be able to make sure too. I want to build my other team members up too. I want to make sure they're just as successful as I am.
Hmm. Which is a main part of, I feel, a lot of our lives, I
Yeah,
would hope. Um, so when we think about high school students, what is something you feel that is the most important part of high school in terms of preparing for the future in engineering or a similar field?
I think it's hard. I didn't step out of high school knowing I wanted to be an engineer. I stepped
Hmm.
out of high school knowing, okay, I'm going to go to college and I'll be science. And to be honest, I think my declared major was biology when I started. And I think I wanted oceanography, but I went to school in Colorado and there was no oceanography. So that wasn't going to work.
Yep,
And I
something a
left
little
Hawaii,
difficult.
right? Um,
Yeah.
but I think one of the things I would say to, and like I said, I think the landscape for university is different now, but I don't
Hmm.
think you have to step in your freshman year to come out being what you are going to be in your senior year. And I think you should question or take the time to really see, is this something I want to do? Because I think to be honest with you, you guys have a better chance of having to reinvent yourself than I think that we were ever afforded. I think when I went to school, or when just my degree is very specific. So an engineer is an engineer at the time, right? You were working in industry, and I never thought I'd work in an airline. I had no aviation experience whatsoever. So I
Mhm.
think with any science, math-based background, you can work anywhere. You could be, I wanted to be in the FBI, and they look for people
Okay.
with yeah, math, science, accounting, foreign language,
Uh-huh.
all these things. And so there's so many different so I would think don't think you have to stick with one thing if it's not something you're passionate about.
Mhm.
And on the reverse of that, don't think, I wouldn't say like, try it first. And if it's something you just don't see yourself doing for a long, longevity, then find something else because you don't want to be
Mhm.
miserable.
Right. Um, so I think that's important, especially as a young person myself. We get told a lot like, oh, well, where are you going to college and what are you
Mhm.
doing and what are you studying? And I think, especially now, it's so hard to predict the future and where we're
Yes.
going that we need to, be flexible and see where we're going, like just try things.
Yeah,
So
and I
really
don't
great to
know
see
that,
that from you.
yeah, and I don't know what the college, I don't know what that path looks like. I mean, even for like say your brother and Cooper and yourself, like
Hmm.
um I would, and my parents might get so angry to say this, but um I think the gap year is incredibly important. I think you guys work really, really hard at high school, and then unless you really are like, okay, I want to go do this. I think working a job or doing or part-time college or community college, whatever it is, to see if is this the path I really want to take? Because I think when you start to get into your sophomore, junior, senior year, granted, it took me quite a few more years than that. Um, it's hard to get out, right? It's hard to say, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this anymore. But
Hmm.
yeah, you don't have to have all this problem solved either.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I think by the end of high school, you don't have to have those problems solved.
Right. Which is something we get told a lot, but I feel like we need to take a step back and be like, no, we got this.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't have any questions prepared, but if there's anything you would like to discuss or final words you'd like to say, go ahead and do that.
No, I'm curious. One, thank you very much. You're an excellent interviewer.
Thank you.
Interviewer. Yeah,
It's
you're
fun.
very prepared and very easy to talk to, Avery.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, Tell me a little bit about this club.
Okay. Our founder, Kylie, she founded this club in her eighth grade year, so about 3 years ago. And she wanted to create a club that opened opportunities for women, especially to get more knowledge about things they're interested in and things like that. So we started off, or I wasn't here yet, but we started off as just meetings and getting to know other people in like the Punahou community. And then it evolved into having co-leaders and things like that and positions like that to kind of spread this idea of woman empowering global opportunities. And then we just got our certification to be a nonprofit. So we're hoping to spread more into the community. And we do a lot of outreach work, mostly for middle school girls,
Nice.
where we have sort of a mentorship program. And then, of course, we do a lot of school events, like our conference, and we have our podcast. We do a lot of different things, but it's mostly focused around empowering women and uplifting other women around you. That idea is basically what started it all.
That is that is really good. I'm
Mhm.
so proud of you guys. And I like that you're doing a lot of things and not just focusing on one thing. Um, one, I was got to be um, I was asked to speak at it the university event for it was I think it was
Mhm.
is it Women's Month, Women's National Month or something.
Women's History Month,
Yeah,
something like
Women's
that.
History Month. Yeah, and sorry, and once again it was really STEM based at HPU and it was for a women's group. Um, there are some really, I'm sure you guys are aware, but there's some really neat, or amazing women in the community. But there's some really neat, this is a great way, I think you guys are looking at to what opportunities are out there that aren't
Mhm.
necessarily defined, right? Because you'll
Right.
have speakers who are people that you do on your podcast that may have started out as police officers and now they're, legal geniuses, let's say, in the community. And that probably wasn't a great start for a female back then, being a police officer, but or women who went to school for business and now they're, selling $30 million homes. Like this is a great way to bring that awareness, another platform. So congratulations to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed.
We wanted to make it more accessible for the average girl, just to
Yeah.
see possibilities, right? And know that like anything's possible. And like you said earlier, it's all about like working hard and finding your passions. And we wanted to make that idea very aware to everyone, boys and girls, who look to enter some fields that may not be super opening to them at the moment, but we can always strive to create more diverse fields and things like that.
Yeah, and I would be happy to provide a tour or just open up, like I said, to open up what Hawaiian Airlines does in general. There's all kinds of little nuances to it. It's not just aircraft, right? It's but if those are areas that you guys are interested, I'd be happy to open that up with a tour or something. Because like I said, someone took a chance on me 4 years ago, and all I knew is I got on the airplane and I sat down, and now I know everything else about it. So I would love to share that opportunity with somebody else.
Well, thank you so much for speaking
You're
with me.
welcome. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of
And I look forward to
course.
seeing you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great job,
Stay
Avery.
safe in here. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Mahalo for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you were able to gain valuable insight from our wonderful speaker today. We hope you have a great rest of your day and tune in next time. This is Kylie, signing off. We'll see you in the next one.